trust that you're becoming great friends with the definite article. So important for Greek grammar. Today, we're going to be moving into the present middle passive indicative of the verb. We're going to be looking at something new for you. They're called deponent verbs, the Greek negative, as well as the infinitive. So let's get started here. In chapter 1, we looked at the present active indicative of the verb luo. Remember, we had a stem plus an ending. That's going to carry over to the present middle passive indicative. So we had a lu plus o. Luo is parsed as a present active indicative, first singular, and is translated as I loose, and that refers to continuous action. Now, a new change for Lu. Now we take Lu and change him into a middle passive. The active voice means that the subject is the one doing the action. The middle means that the subject is still doing it, but the subject is doing it for oneself. And passive voice means that the subject is receiving the action of the verb. English examples. We baptize, that's active. We are being baptized, that's passive. They heal is active. They are being healed is passive. He glorifies is active. He is being glorified is passive. Now, one of the frequent mistakes that Greek students make is when they hear the word passive voice, they are thinking about past tense. It doesn't wash. The passive voice means that the subject is receiving the action of the main verb, not past tense. So here we have the present middle passive indicative of luo. Let's look at the bottom there. We have the singular and the plural forms. Let's pronounce. Luamai, luei, luetai. Plural, luamatha, luista, luantai. One more time. Luamai, luei, luetai. Luamatha, luista, luantai. Now, luamai, you'll see in the middle means I loose from myself, or I am being loosed, is the passive. Same holds true for the second singular, and the others are the same to that. Now, when you see something in the middle passive voice, 99% of the time it's going to be translated as a passive. So notice here we have a basic stem, lu, followed by 6 different endings. So we have the stem lu, and let's pronounce our endings. Omai, a, etai. Plural, amatha, esta, antai. One more time. Amai, a, etai. Amatha, esta, antai. Now, our memory picture above is this. Lu receives a present. That is a passive voice. He's receiving it. As he is being loosed, again, passive voice. It's happening to him. He's being destroyed by the indicator. Remember, the indicator gives us a statement of fact. So that tells us present, middle, passive, indicative of luo. As he is being loosed, he sees a young lady who's an amethyst stone. And he exclaims, "Oh my, a etai." "Oh my, a etai." Those are the singular endings. "Oh my, a etai." "Oh my, a etai." Those are singular. And notice here that the lady amethyst is the untier. Now, amethyst is a substitute word for the ending ametha. Is a substitute word for the ending estai. Estha. And untie is a substitute word for the ending untie. So amethyst is the untier. Ametha, estha, untie. Now notice the all-important thing right here for both the present active as well as the present middle passive indicative. They're noted by a stem plus an ending. Those two things, stem, ending. Let's pronounce the forms one more time. Luamai, lue, luatai, luamatha, luista, luantai. Our picture, Lu receives a present as he's being loosed by the indicator. So that tells us present, middle, passive, indicative. As he is being loosed, he sees the young lady amethyst and he exclaims, "Oh my, a atai." Those are your singular endings. The lady amethyst is the untier. That helps us with the endings ametha, estha, untie. So let's put this into practice here. I'm going to hit the pause button here, ask that you do the same, and let's compare notes once you've had a chance to look at this. Well, how did you do? Let's take a look and see what they should be. Ageramatha, notice a stem plus ending. Present, middle, passive, indicative, first person plural. From agero, we are being raised up. We are receiving the action. Sodzantai, present, middle, passive, indicative, third person plural. From sodzo, they are being saved. And dioke, present, middle, passive, indicative, second person singular. From dioko, you are being pursued or persecuted. Now, in your vocabulary of chapter 4, you had a number of verbs that you were introduced that made you say, "Oh my." They're what I call deponent verbs. Now, you'll see Vera verb here in the corner of a boxing ring, and she's facing a mammoth boxer. And she says, "Oh my." When verbs make you say "oh my" in the vocabulary, they are deponent verbs. So the opponent that's there. So we have erkamai, ginamai, paruamai, apakrinamai. Erkamai means I come, iginamai, I become, paruamai, I go, and apakrinamai, I answer. Now, these verbs are parsed as deponent. So notice the parsing of erkamai, present deponent indicative, first singular. Ginomai, present deponent indicative, first singular. Paruamai, present deponent indicative, first singular. The same holds true for apakrinamai. None of the four verbs that we saw in the previous slide has an active form such as luo. They have the omai endings. But how are they translated? They are translated actively. All four verbs have the middle or middle passive endings omai, a, atai, amatha, estha, untie. They appear with a middle passive ending, but they are active in meaning. So deponent verbs are parsed with the letter D instead of middle passive. Why? Well, we can't parse the verb as a middle passive because the translation is active. And we can't parse the verb as active because the ending is middle passive. Thus, genamitha there is parsed as a present deponent indicative, first person plural, translated, we become. It has a middle passive ending. It's translated actively. So for us, the key is to go back to the original vocabulary form. If the vocab form makes you say, oh my, as in erkamai, it's a deponent verb. Alright, let's talk about the negative. We have ook, and uch. These are words that negate verbs. And we have three forms. Ook, uch. They all mean the same thing. Now, the reason for the changes is this. With luo, you notice luo starts off with a consonant, so you can pronounce that quickly. Luo. But notice with the next word, erkamai, it starts off with a vowel, so that's why the kappa is stuck in there. Erkamai. You can pronounce it quickly. Erkamai. And the final one there is hamartano. Now, we have the letter chi here because the chi has the H sound, doesn't it? Chi. And notice that the vocab word hamartano begins with a rough breathing. Ha. So this is a way of running the two words together as one. Hamartano. The H sound kind of is a glue sound for the negative as well as the verb. So they don't mean anything different. It depends upon the verb that follows. Infinitives. Infinitives are what are called verbal nouns. They are nouns essentially, but they have verbal qualities to it. Now, my favorite pastime is bass fishing. So, here in the first sentence, it's used as the subject. To fish is fun. To fish there is the subject of the sentence. It can be used as the direct object. I like to fish. That's like the accusative. But it can also express purpose. I went to the lake to fish. Purpose. That's why I went to the lake. Now, the present infinitive. We have two groups of endings here. We have luain is the active to or in order to loose, and luistai, that's the middle passive, to or in order to loose for oneself, passive to or in order to be loose. Now normally it's going to be translated as a passive. Now when we get to deponent verbs, they will take the middle passive endings, but they're going to be translated actively, just same principle. Thus we have erkastai. Now notice the ending, estai. It has a middle passive ending, but how's it translated actively? So it's parsed as a PDINF, present deponent infinitive. So we have a memory picture here that is going to help us with the present infinitive of luo. Lu is giving a present to infinivi. He's a little substitute person we have for the infinitive. We'll see more about infinitives as a whole when we come to chapter 14, but they're introduced here in chapter 4. So Lu is giving a present tense to infinivi, and notice he's standing in the rain. You see the raindrops there? And the word rain reminds us of the ending ain. And what is he wearing? An estai. And that stands for the ending estai. So Lu giving a present to infinivi, standing in the rain with an estai. Parsing deponent infinitives. They will take the middle passive infinitive endings but be translated actively. So here we have erkastai. Notice we have a stem plus an ending. Erch, and there's our ending. Remember, presents are characterized by stem plus ending. So here we have the stem, erch, plus the ending SI, and that's an infinitive ending, and that's parsed as a present deponent infinitive. Now, this is to be followed up by practices in the next set of videos.